new year, horrors in America unfolding. Good morning, David. Enough is enough. Feeling sorry for other nations and their people. That's Sean in Norfolk, thank you. You can't smash the gangs. The war on drugs has taught us that. You take one out, another one then takes its place. I'm asking this morning, how do you feel about these terror attacks, which we believe may well be linked? What's gone on in New Orleans, also in Las Vegas as well. The FBI continuing their investigation. Currently, authorities are now looking into a possible military connection between the suspect in the New Orleans attack and a man who died in the Tesla Cybertruck explosion in Vegas. Law enforcement are already looking into the fact that both men used, as I keep saying, this Turo car app to rent the vehicles used in both incidents. Now, Elon Musk very quick to jump onto this and to say that actually the two incidents are linked. Musk has tweeted it appears likely to be an act of terrorism. Both this Cybertruck and the F-150 suicide bomb in New Orleans were rented from Turo. Perhaps they are linked in some sort of way. So that is Elon Musk. I'm joined this morning by Matthew Goodwin-Freeman, who is a political commentator. Let's take you through some of the other stories this morning. This is the Telegraph, page 10. Trans police allowed to pick warrant card to suit. What is this? So basically you can identify as whatever you like and carry a warrant card as deemed appropriate by yourself, based on the hour, day, week, month of the year.
Pretty much. This is one of those confusing stories which you read and think, is this a joke? You know, I know it's New Year's, but we're quite far away from April Fools. 11 of the 47 constabularies in England have said that they give trans police officers allowed to carry multiple warrant cards depending on the gender identity they choose as a result of this Freedom of Information request. 2/3 of police forces were also found to let trans officers who are biologically male to use women's showers, lavatories and changing rooms.
But that's unacceptable.
Well, this has been criticised by women's rights campaigners, MPs. It doesn't put the safety of females, biological women, at the heart of it. It's ridiculous. Now, their argument is that this is being gender fluid and it's supporting diversity, but at the end of the day, you get into a situation where female police officers, suspects and victims are put at risk for the very, very, very few. Frankly, I don't care what the officer is, who they think they are, or what they identify as. I care that they're arresting the bad uns and putting them behind bars. That's what I care about.
I mean, it's interesting. Mayor Forstater, the executive director of Sex Matters, told the Daily Mail, allowing any man, whatever he calls himself and whatever he is wearing, to walk into women's showers, changing rooms and toilets, or to search. And this is really important, to search, including strip search women, is a violation of women's dignity and an abuse of power. I totally agree.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, this is one of the things where we take a bit of reassurance that if you're a man, you'll be searched by a man. If you're a woman, you'll be searched by a woman. And now this throws this all up in the air. And at the end of the day, we've got to make sure victims are the ones we care about most in the justice system, not someone's identities.
Let's move on and talk about the era of cheap Russian gas to the EU ends. This is really interesting because there is a pipeline that basically transfers gas from Russia through Ukraine. Russian gas has stopped flowing to EU states via Ukraine. This is a 5-year deal. It expired, marking the end of a decades-long arrangement. Now, obviously, this is Zelensky. He says that Russia cannot be allowed to prosper on the back of the oil that's being consumed. But Russia, there is another pipeline, by the way, that Russia can still send gas to Hungary, to Turkey, to Serbia through the Turk Stream pipeline across the Black Sea. Yet more bad news for the EU. The EU says, oh, we can cope, we're ready, we have contingency plans.
But there's already some shortages in certain countries. So, look, I mean, at the end of the day, this is one of those things where anyone who supports Ukraine and wants Ukraine to win this war needs to make sure that they do everything possible to stifle Russia. So this is one of the things that they can do, obviously hit them economically. They make money off of these gas imports and getting them out there. Well, brilliant, let's stop it. It has taken some time and there has been some criticism, but this is to do with international law and as we know, the interpretation of international law, because that gets fought in the courts for months and months, years and years, until someone ends up coming with a decision, and then that'll get appealed anyway. But the gas flows are actually quite sizable. It's roughly 15 billion cubic metres. I mean, I have no idea how to quantify that, but I'll try to come up with a comparison. But it's about 5% of the EU's total gas imports, so not everything, but a bit.
So in 2023, it was 10% of the EU's gas imports. It was 40% in 2021. There are some outliers here. Slovakia, not exactly happy about what is going on. You're seeing moves by the Slovakian Prime Minister also cozying up to Putin as well. The Slovakia's Prime Minister Robert Fico said the end of the deal would have drastic consequences for EU countries, but not on Russia. So obviously making sure that he is aligned with Russia. It's interesting. I think the EU has a number of problems that it needs to concentrate on, and we'll leave that there at the moment. This is the Sun, page 2. No under-16s ban on social media.
Yeah, so we're seeing around the world, obviously, the whole idea is that when you get onto social media, you're supposed to be of a certain age. You're supposed... And the way that you get around it is just you change what the date of birth is. It's so simple in the settings. So
no
many
verification
people...
needed.
There is nothing.
No
there
ID.
is nothing at all. So growing around the world has been this clampdown on trying to keep young kids off of social media, bringing in stuff like verification. And there was rumours that maybe this would be coming here in the UK, especially given the fact that you can't now tweet certain things without getting locked up in jail. But no, Labour have come out saying that they aren't planning an under-16s ban on social media. But just like with everything, let's say, we might change that in a couple of weeks' time. Who knows?
Let's just bring you some breaking news, more news from the United States now. ABC News is reporting that multiple people have been shot near a music venue in Queens in New York. This is according to local police. Other reports suggest at least 10 people have been shot at the nightclub. This is ABC News reporting multiple people have been shot near a music venue in Queens in New York, according to local police. Other reports suggest at least 10 people have been shot at the nightclub. This is a very dark day for the United States, isn't it?
I mean, 3 days, 3 attacks, you do the math. I mean, this is ridiculous. And what we've got to really make sure is that we don't jump to conclusions.
Correct.
Everything has to be fact-driven, but this is looking really concerning. If they have, obviously, the driver driving into a group of people on New Year's Day in New Orleans, then a Cybertruck exploding outside the Trump Tower, and now, obviously, a shooting in New York. This is starting to look coordinated, and this is starting to look very, very worrying.
What would you say to Stuart? Good morning, Stuart. Stuart's message here and saying, hi, David Stewart from Bradford. These incidents in the US, similar incidents will happen here in Europe unless drastic action is taken. All the countries that hate Western values. And this underpins everything, which is that there is a section of society in many of these countries, our country, the United States, European countries, that simply do not subscribe to Western values. They are living isolated, almost existences where they don't interact with the rest of society. And I think that is what the public is saying. Enough is enough.
Yeah, and also, and what I would say in response to that is, they're already happening. We saw in Germany an attack before Christmas where a car was driven through a Christmas market. Yeah. We saw here in the UK, in London, a car driven into crowds on Christmas Day. We've now seen in the US 3 attacks, 3 incidents of people being put at the heart of an attack. This is happening now. So, as I said earlier, we talk about attacks being this far-off thing in the distance that aren't going to happen to us or happen somewhere away. Actually, this is creeping closer and closer, and it goes to really speak to the truth of what we're saying about multiculturalism, getting involved with diversity. You've got to make sure you actually adopt the country's principles, and this is a really... And I just want to say, thoughts are obviously with the victims, because they can't just be numbers. There are people at the heart of this.
Of course there are. And just on a much lighter note, New Year's resolutions, yes. I don't know how many you have, but apparently the key to keeping your New Year's resolutions is to make sure you sleep.
Ah, well, my New Year's resolution is to fail at everything, and apparently I'll get knighthood, so who knows?
That's a very good resolution.
I learned it from Sadiq himself, so, you know.
Yeah, well, we could go down a rabbit hole with that one, couldn't we? Thank you ever so much for coming in. Really good to see you. That's Matthew Goodwin-Freeman, political commentator, taking us through this morning's papers.